All right. We are going to start because I want this to be part of the cast. So last week, Madam Ava told you guys, your enemy is a creature of darkness whose powers are beyond mortality. This card will lead you to him. So the card reading of what the card is supposed to represent, which is that this card leads you to your enemy, that part was correct. The location part was incorrect. So the location part of that is that the enemy, and I'm going to find this and make sure I do it right. Here we go. So the prediction is that I think I told you something about a broken creature, and I was reading the description for your great ally, which that one was correct, but the result was wrong. So she tells you that this card will lead you to your greatest enemy. And she flips it and she says, he waits for you in a place of wisdom, warmth, and despair. Great secrets are there. So that's just changing the result of card number 5, the 5th card that she flipped over.
Okay.
Yes. So she says, he waits for you in a place of wisdom, warmth, and despair. Great secrets are there. And then she ushers you on. So that was just a card reading error on my end. It was live and not perfect, as it turns out. But yes, we fixed that. Okay. So last time on Curse of Strahd campaign, aka Dungeons and Danny, which I don't like, and we need a different name.
We need to work on that.
We gotta work on that.
They made that name.
You guys encountered a old woman who gave you a little bit of strife, but also a little bit of information. You then were escorted by the Vistani, your favorite Vistani, Ratka and crew, to the Tesser Pool encampment, where you found some other Vistani. You heard some lore and some stories, and you chatted with Madam Ava about some predictions that she made for you. Madam Ava has the magical gift of foresight and prediction, and she was able to give you some information about what you need to seek out in order to try to best this foe that you've been hearing so much about, but don't actually know that much about. So she gave you some vital information and told you that you will need this information, you will need these things in order to defeat your great enemy. And then you guys decided that you were going to travel by foot and leave the encampment and head towards some destination. You have a lot of places that you've heard about, a lot of potential threads that we can grasp onto at this point. And we'll pick up there. And so as you guys are leaving the encampment on foot, Ismark turns to you and he says, and by the way, about this time of day, you guys are traveling. It's about, I want to say like 1 to 2 in the afternoon. It's not super late right now because you guys did leave really early from Barovia. So you guys are leaving the encampment. So you travel on this dirt road that hugs the river, the beautiful river that you guys saw as you came into the encampment. And the encampment that is here kind of borders on a place where the river pools. That's why it's called Tesser Pool. And the pool leads out into a northern side of the river, and the path leads north. And Ismark points in the northern direction. He says, "This way will take us to Vallaki." And he says, "We must get Irina there in as little time as possible." And Irina nods her head and she says, "While you are with me, I do not fear that we will be attacked by Strahd's minions. I think he may appear, and I fear for what he might do to the rest of you, but I know that while you are at least in my company, that you will most likely not be hurt." And she puts her hand on her head and she says, I'm not sure how I know this, but I know that he does not wish to harm me, and I know that he does not wish to harm those who travel with me and keep me safe." So she sort of gives you a little bit of assurance that she doesn't think that Strahd will attack you, but she's not completely sure.
Also, just because he's not going to quote unquote attack us doesn't mean he won't fuck with us.
That's very true. Also, now I can't differentiate between Nate's out of game voice and Nate's in-game voice because now this sounds like he's doing a voice.
I wish I could hear what you guys are saying. I don't. I can try.
You'll
unplugging
hear it
my
in the
mic and putting it
recording
back
and
in.
you're gonna be like, whoa.
Sorry, team. I just one note. We had talked about taking her to Vallaki, but also Saint Markovia or something. Do you all remember?
The Abbey in St. Markovia.
Real quick, does this sound better?
Yes.
Yeah.
You sound like normal Nate.
Okay, that's weird. I just put my shitty headset on.
Yes. So it's definitely the microphone.
I'm just starting to get used to it too. Now Nate sounds super high pitched.
Yeah.
Who is this? Is this a boy?
Is this
Am I back to
Strahd?
sounding shitty?
Oh,
No, that sounds normal.
I think that's normal now.
Oh my
It's-
god, that's so weird. I just unplugged the microphone and plugged it back in.
Maybe it was just like
Yeah.
a little loose or something.
Yeah, now you sound.
You
You're
sound
back.
normal now.
Okay, that was
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to
Cool.
hear that on the recording though, because it was weird.
It sounded so good. I was like, Nate, you got nothing to prove, man. You don't. We all know you have a deep voice, okay?
Coming from you, that doesn't feel good.
So, I'm trying to remember if we didn't really have a preference on where we took her. So, so Valaki's cool with everybody.
Do we know
Yeah.
where she wants to go? Does she have a preference on the place?
Sounds like she just pointed out Valaki. So,
Okay.
okay. I'll stop metaing. I was just trying to remember. Yeah, I guess Ramis will turn to them both and say to Irina, well, if that is the case, then you may have trouble getting rid of us. Regarding being safe from Strahd, maybe.
She chuckles and says, once we get to Vallaki, I know that the borders are secure.
Ismark, would you humor me? Ramis pulls out a journal and a quill. I'm having trouble tracking our movements in this strange land. Could you just give us even just notionally a picture of where we are headed and where we have come from?
Yeah, Ismark says, I have never been to Vallaki before. I have only known people who have traveled to and from. I have stayed in Barovia my whole life. And he says, but I can attempt to draw out where we have come so far and help map that. But in terms of where we are headed, I know not much more than yourselves.
Just, yeah, landmarks is fine.
Cool. So he will draw out a little map of where you have gone, and I will actually draw it out on like an index card, and I will send it to the group. It's going to be very crude.
Okay. And yeah, with that, Ramis is like, and how long from here to Valaki?
Walking.
He says, I don't quite know, but I believe it will be at least several days of travel.
Are there towns in between, or is it just road?
Says there are no towns in between here and Valaki. All I know of between here and Valaki is the road to the castle Ravenloft. And I have heard tales of an old windmill along the road.
Oh boy.
Ooh, there's a canal.
This windmill keeps coming up.
Something tells me we should steer clear of the windmill for now.
As Mark says, I'm sure we'll have more information as we travel, but we should stay cautious.
I believe we should stay cautious regardless.
And as Mark nods.
He is a wise man. I'm good to keep walking. Start walking.
Keep walking. I'm not gonna keep walking. But she isn't gonna fall. Okay. That's a VeggieTales inside joke for all y'all. Okay. So as you continue to walk, you are headed in a northern direction, and you're walking along the river. The river is quite stunning, actually. It's very clear blue. You can actually see the bottom of the river. And as you approach the top of sort of a hill, because the pool encampment was kind of a pool in a little bit of a valley, you reach the cobbled road again, because you guys were on kind of a dirt trail path that goes along next to the river, and you reach the path that is the cobbled path as it intersects the river. And as you intersect the river, even here in the mountains where you guys reach up to, the forest and the fog are all encompassing and totally inescapable. And ahead, the dirt road that you are on splits in two, widening towards the east. And there you see lots of patches of cobblestone, suggesting that the eastern branch was once an important thoroughfare, that you see lots of markings, lots of like wheel divots and things like that. And you reach and approach the base of a canyon. So at the top of the dirt road where it intersects, you find a large canyon. And at the far end, there is a great waterfall that spills into a pool. So the river, you guys were kind of traveling up a little bit. You reach this this cobbled road that intersects. And to your right, which is presumed slightly more north-ish, slightly west-ish, northwest-ish, there is a big bridge over this huge canyon. And there's the river pooling down and flying down in this huge waterfall, spilling into a pool, and it billows forth clouds of lots of cold mist. So it's even mistier here than many of the other places that you've been already, which have also been misty. There is a great stone bridge that spans the canyon. It's nearly 1,000 feet overhead. So this is a pretty gigantic landmark.
Wait, so we're under the bridge?
You're not under the bridge. You are approaching the road, and then the road takes off to the bridge.
Gotcha.
Yes.
But we're still next to the river at our level.
Yeah. So as you're just walking, right, and following along the trail eventually that you're on intersects and goes what looks to you east and west, which is it's really closer to north and south, but to you approaching, it looks like it's east and west, or left and right. And the northern side to your right is this huge bridge that goes over a big canyon. And then to the southern side is just the cobbled road.
Are
mhm.
there, we're basically at the river's edge. We're kind of like hiking alongside it.
Yep.
Are
And
there-
you are hiking alongside the river as the river approaches a cliff and then falls into a giant waterfall.
Are there river rocks? Are there
River
like
rocks.
stones along the banks?
There's stones and rocks and yes.
Okay. Ramis takes off towards the river edge.
Okay.
He shouts behind his shoulder, Sindra, Ismark, come.
Ismark follows you.
I start looking through the rocks for like nice round flat stones. How wide is this river?
The river is pretty wide, actually. It's like almost 100 feet across.
Oh yes. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. I start looking for flat, smooth stones, and as I find them, I pass them to Sindra and Ismark, and I'm like inspecting the stones, and I say, "When I was a boy, this is how I used to pass the time," and I like try to skip a stone as far as I can.
Roll. Let's go with an athletics check.
Damn it!
Not sleight of hand.
All right, athletics. Shit. Oh, not one.
Oh no. So
You missed the
as
river.
Remy attempts to skip the rock across the river, instead of even throwing it, it's so smooth that it flies out the other side of his hand. He's like holding it like this, and he like throws it, and then it goes whoosh, and it flies out the other side.
I turn embarrassed and say, that one was a little bit wet. I need to warm up.
Ismark picks it up and looks at it, and it's not wet at all.
No, you need to squeeze the stone.
I will, whoever, no, if either of you can skip a stone further than me, that one doesn't count.
I think it does. It counts.
Obviously. Warm up. I had to show how not to throw.
He's
Then,
hustling, yeah, obviously.
Whoever throws the furthest gets Ismark,
A
give me
wand
some
of detect
sticks.
magic?
No. Like I'm pretty sure that's already Zug's anyways. So has to receives a poem from the other two.
Oh.
Oh boy, poetry, my favorite.
I'm glad I'm not involved in this.
Ismark.
Right. I will try
Ismark says,
to-
I've never written a poem before.
Well, today is probably the day you start.
He says, you have a deal. Worst case scenario, I write you a really crappy poem. Best case scenario, you write me a pretty good one.
No, Ismark, don't undersell yourself, my friend. Okay. I believe Ismark should go first.
Ismark obliges.
Where'd you
God,
trust
it's
us?
19.
He rolls a 19.
God damn it!
Oh
This
my
is not a poem.
Ismark rolls a 19, which is going to give him a 21 total score.
Shit. Okay. Okay.
Athletics checks from you guys.
Okay, here we go. 8.
Wait, we have to roll athletics checks?
No, just Remy.
It's really-
Oh.
It's Mark and I do.
Okay. Okay.
What's
Use your
happening?
inspiration, man.
I'm thinking about it. I'm like thinking if I want
Don't lose.
Use your inspiration on this, please.
Oh Lord.
I'm gonna use my inspiration if I need to.
Okay.
Fuck. All right. using inspiration.
If
Okay,
you
that's a
miss
13.
an
Okay.
attack later, I'm gonna
Ugh.
laugh.
That's a 13.
You still lose.
I know.
Yeah, but he's
But he
inspired.
loses with inspiration.
So, so Ismark goes first, and he walks up, and he actually takes the same rock that Rami threw initially.
I already handed him a rock. He's just doing that to be an
He picked
asshole.
it up, and he walks up, and he like gracefully like swooshes his wrist with like a quick flick, and the rock skips 4 times on the water, and it's pretty impressive. Sindra goes up, and Sindra grabs a rock that Ramis has given her, and Sindra throws the rock, and it doesn't land all that gracefully, and it skips 2 times and then goes plop and plops into the water. And Ismark gives you a nod, and he says, "That was well done. That was well done.
Thank you.
That was well done." Ismark thinks he got lucky. And then Ramis walks up, and Ramis, obviously the showman that he is, like does like little like fucking performance before he throws his rock.
I didn't roll a performance.
Listen, you look snazzy. And he throws the rock, and it hits the water, and it gracefully bounces and poofs off the water, and it hits 3 times and falls in.
Hmm.
And
Uh,
Ismark turns to the 2 of you and says, "I expect my poems by sun up."
Bismarck, you have more to your wrists than meets the eye.
He like looks at his wrist. Yeah.
Perhaps that shall be my inspiration for your poem.
Kane also throws a stone, but this one flies out of his hand so quickly and bounces gracefully, perfectly off the water all the way to the other side of the river.
Did Kane just cast a weapon or something?
Did King roll for that?
No, Kane did not need to because it's just an illusion, but none of you necessarily know that unless the DM makes you roll for it.
Oh man. Yeah, passive perception is what?
Wait, there's got to be like some somatic and verbal part of casting illusion.
Is there? Do you
Minor
have to
illusion?
cast the spell
He
verbally?
whispered to the rock
Let's see.
Illusion.
and he blew on it.
Make my friends think I'm awesome.
There's a somatic component.
I need this rock. I need this.
Ismark like looks at it, and he's like, "Holy shit!" Ismark looks at Kane like, how did you do that?
Ramis is going to roll his eyes and say, "I think there is perhaps something more going on here, Ismark." And I pat him on the shoulder and walk away from the shore.
It's just a gesture, so I could weave the gesture into the throw.
Nice.
And Ismark like taps his forehead, and he's like, "You're a wizard."
How are these guys catching on to me? Do I not get to get away with anything with my illusions?
Not that, because it was supernatural.
Not against another spellcaster. What are you talking about?
True. Remy should be rehearsed in understanding what had happened there. Ismark wouldn't, and Ismark is like really impressed, but then he's like, once Ramis clues him in, Ismark puts 2 and 2 together that was not real.
Sorry, Kane. I should have hammed it up for you. But I didn't want to write you a poem.
I mean, Ismark might want to be aware of what your special abilities are. All right, so you guys are going to continue on. And Ismark does expect his poems by sunup, by the way. So,
Oh, he'll get one.
yes, we will recite these poems. Each of you will recite your poem to Ismark. All right, so we reached the crossroads. Do you guys want to proceed across the bridge? I assume we do. That is the direction we're headed.
Wherever they're taking us, I'm good to go.
Yeah, so you guys will head across the bridge. The bridge is quite slick with some moisture, but feels sturdy and safe. So there are also two huge gargoyles perched on the edge of the stone bridge, and they look very menacing, but do not do anything as you pass. They just appear to be stone gargoyles. So you guys head over the bridge. The bridge is quite large, and the falls underneath you are quite captivating and beautiful. And if anyone peers over the edge of the bridge to take a look at the falls, you see quite a landscape. It is quite pretty. And
Dangerous.
Ismark walks up to the edge of the stone bridge and does look over. And he says out loud to anyone who's nearby, This land has much beauty. And then he like kind of dips his head and he keeps walking.
Nerd.
Okay. Okay. So you guys continue on, and by this point you've been walking for about 10 hours. And you guys make it across this big old bridge, and all you see is grass, plains, and woods to either side of you. You see woods to your left, you see grassy plains and a big hill to your right, and you see cobbled road in front of you that seamlessly has no end. It is dark out, or approaching getting pretty dark out.
After 10 hours? That would be almost
That would be like
11 or midnight.
Yeah, we'll say that this took you like 6 hours.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's twilight.
You're getting to
Okay.
sundown.
Okay.
Do you guys want to keep going through the night? Would you like to make camp? It is starting to get dark out.
I think Ramis will turn to Ismark and Irina and the party and be like, who is afraid of the dark? And should we be?
Irina pipes up and she says, I don't think that we should travel through the night, but I do think we are safe to make camp, as long as someone is keeping watch.
Zed
And
can keep
Ismark
watch.
immediately says, I would be happy to take watch.
Maybe we should take watch in pairs.
Yeah, we should take shifts, no?
Yeah.
We all need our rest.
Ismark nods and agrees.
Okay.
Make camp. Is there a good spot for it? Do we want to do it right in the
Lots
middle
of
of town?
plains and woods around you. You can kind of head out into the grassy plains or into the woods. If you ask Ismark, he might have some words about that. I mean, it's pretty obvious that you shouldn't go into the woods to make camp.
No, the plains, so we can't have anything sneak up on us.
So where you guys are at right now, like right after you've kind of crossed this big bridge, is towards the left is like some plains that eventually lead out into woods and trees that you can see. And towards your right, if you guys look out to the right, there's lots of plains. There's a shallow kind of hill that's over there. And peeking over the top of the hill, you actually can see the top of a very ominous looking castle. It's quite far in the distance. And the moon is burning bright behind it.
I would point at the castle and be like, Ismark, do you Do you know what that castle is? Can you identify it for us?
Ismark says, of course, that is the castle I have resided under my entire life. That is Castle Ravenloft.
Mm.
It is the home of the Devil Strahd.
Ah,
So close.
Yes, Castle Ravenloft looms over Barovia on the top of a cliff.
Okay.
Looks camp here.
So yeah, I guess. How far is the hill? Is it like pretty close, or?
Yeah, less than 100 feet.
Ramis would like to survey the hill to see if we camped on the other side of it, like we would be hidden from view from the main trail.
Yeah, that would take you a couple hours to walk that far.
100 feet?
Well, so it is a hill, so like you could get close to this side of the hill, but to get around it.
So this is like a very large hill.
It's not like a super tall hill, but it's a big hill. Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Then Ramis is not doing that.
It would take you a while to do that.
I'm sure we'll be fine right here.
Yeah, you guys can like camp by the base of the hill, which is a little bit, as you get closer to the very base of the hill, it's a little out of the view of Castle Ravenloft, and enough off the road that in the middle of the night, unless you were, of course, like burning a fire, you probably wouldn't be seen.
okay, that sounds good.
This seems like a good location for slumber.
Yeah. All right, so you guys can set up camp. I assume that you have some basic supplies. Ismark brought some camping gear with him, and Ismark turns out is a pretty good survivalist. So he goes and fetches some firewood, and Irina stays with the party. And do any of you have passive perception of 15 plus?
Yes.
So anyone with passive perception of 15 plus actually notices a raven, and through the mist you can see a black bird that resembles a raven circling overhead. But as soon as it feels your eyes upon it, if anyone looks at it and directly notices it, the raven flies away.
Mm,
We're being watched.
yep.
Cool. Anything you guys want to do tonight? How do you want to take shifts? Ismark offered to take first shift
I can take first shift as well.
with Ismark. Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
So Zug and Ismark can take first shift.
I can
Who'd
take
like
this
to take
one.
second?
I can have my familiar actually take the entire evening unless you guys have a passive perception that beats it.
What's its passive?
Mine's 10.
So no, you can sleep all night, Zug.
Zug volunteers to sleep all night.
If it would help the party.
Mm-mm.
Ismark is like very adamant about wanting to take the shift. He doesn't feel comfortable going to bed with Irina there out in the open.
Ismark, you can do whatever you like, but know that my owl will notice anything that you would notice.
Ismark nods and smiles and says, I probably can do better with a sword than the owl can, though.
Trust that we will all be awoken if anything is noticed.
Ismark
You are
nods,
not
but he's still
alone.
gonna like sit out there. Like he agrees with you, but he doesn't want to be in a vulnerable state. He doesn't feel good about that.
Is he gonna stay up all night?
He'll at least stay up for like a first shift if someone else wants to stay up for a second, but if no one volunteers to stay up for a second shift, he will attempt to stay up all night.
And what's your familiar's passive perception?
15.
Okay, I have 17. I'll take a second watch if you guys want. Just to be safe. I feel like I would be super paranoid and would want to not rely on the
You and
birds.
Ismark share much in common. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ramis is comfortable just dozing off then.
All right, so Ismark will wake you about halfway through the evening.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys all doze off. The owl hangs out with Ismark. You know, I have a cat. And
Climbing the owl.
you gotta jump all the way up, lazy bones. Come on, all the way.
Is it 8 o'clock yet?
You gotta come all the way. He's gotta go over the arm. He doesn't understand. Oh, he's gonna do it.
Oh,
Over the arm. Oh, come on. Come on, buddy. Are you gonna do it? I guess we'll find out next time.
Dragon Ball Z.
Party was attacked by a very timid sleep cat.
Hey guys.
Curse of Ace.
Hi guy. Curse of Ace. Curse of Ace. Yes. So throughout the night, oh, you did it. Oh. Ismark wakes Sindra at some ungodly hour,
Cool.
and he whispers to Sindra, that raven has come back several times.
Good to know.
And then he says, good luck, and he goes to sleep and says bye.
Be afraid, very afraid. Peace.
So as Sindra goes outside, even in the darkness, you can see the raven circling above, keeping its distance, but still circling around. And yeah, anything you want to do while you're taking your ship during the night?
Can I guess, do a perception check on my surroundings? Or would it be investigation?
I mean, yeah, what do you want to look for specifically? Where do you want to go? I mean, you're just surrounded by road, hill, plains, river.
Darkness.
Yeah. Darkness with creepy crawlies.
It's also very foggy. So like your line of sight during the night when it's dark and a bit foggy is maybe limited to like 30, 40 feet.
Okay. I think I would just want to know if I can like hear anything coming or see anything in the darkness, see anything.
Oh yeah, you hear howling wolves.
Oh, cool. Okay, that's fun.
For sure. Yeah, you hear wolves, the howling of what sounds like up to 20 wolves. It's a lot of wolves.
That's fine. Okay.
And every once in a while you hear like a caw of a crow.
Mhm.
Can you hear this purring cat?
Nobody looks very content.
I've got his like neck on the microphone.
No.
Kitty.
Anyways, that's all you observe.
Yeah.
And morning dawns upon you. And nothing terrible has happened tonight. You survived. Yeah. All right, so I suppose we want to continue walking. We up for another day of adventurous walking?
Not without coffee.
There's no coffee.
Barovia sucks.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
You're looking for Brewrovia?
I don't know why I laughed.
I try. Thank you for your pity laugh. Anyways, all right, you guys are going to continue following the road, I suppose. I'd hope that you would. And as we continue to travel across the road, you guys reach what is behind me. The iron gates.
Ooh.
Yeah, you reach some gates that sort of look like this, iron gates. They don't look exactly like this. These are actually the iron gates that you guys first encountered when you first found Barovia. But they do look sort of similar. They're not as tall, but the idea is the same. There is big iron gates. Nobody is manning the iron gates, but the iron gates are entrenched in mist. And as you approach, the fog spills out of the forest to swallow up the road. And you guys come to some iron gates. And they're really cute and pretty. And as you approach the gates, there is a road that takes off to your right. So you guys are approaching, the iron gates are pretty much in front of you, and there's a road that veers off to your right towards the east. And as you walk past, you all look towards the east and look down the road, and you see what looks like very unworn, untraveled territory. The cobbles look very shiny. And almost like they've been swept. And the road twists and turns a little bit through some grassy plains. And Ismark says, I presume this is the road that leads to the devil's castle. And Ismark shakes his head and continues pressing forth to the gates, wanting nothing to do with that direction. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Nothing good can come out of Devil's Castle.
Not yet, at least. Hi,
No. Hey guys. Yeah, so no one's like pulling to go that way. No.
Just yet.
It's there. The road exists. Okay. Yeah. So you guys press on towards the iron gates, and as you approach the iron gates, they open. They open for you. And as you cross the gates, you cross through successfully. No scary things happen. And you come to the other side of the large gates, and on the other side of the gates, there is the path leads into like heavily forested area. So continuing on, I presume. Yes. Okay. So
Perception check.
perception
Reese
check.
is going to stare deep into the forest for signs of things.
Kane, tell me what your owl eyes see.
Hey, really quick, Daniel, can you repeat what you said? My mic went out for a minute and I did not hear anything.
About like what's on the other side of the gates.
Yes.
As you go through the gates, firstly, they close behind you.
Cool.
Yeah. And the road leads into a really heavily forested area on both sides. So it goes straight into some dense cover, some dense fog, into a bunch of trees.
Okay.
So you guys are pressing forward and through the path. And as you continue on the path, I will have active perception rolls from the party, including Ismark and Irina. Oh, Ismark rolled another 19. He's on fire today.
I rolled a 19.
Nice, dude.
I rolled a 21.
Whoa!
I rolled a nat 20.
Whoa!
Hey.
What did Kane roll?
17.
Okay, so everyone in the party except for Irina, literally all of you, except Irina. You catch a faint scent of foulness.
Of foulness?
Yes, it smells foul. It smells like decay.
And does our perception tell us the direction of the foul smell?
Yes, it's coming from the right side of the road. It's coming from this way in general to your right.
I think Ramis, startled by the smell, will look in that direction.
You look in the direction of the woods, and initially you don't see anything.
What is that stink?
Ismark grimaces. He says, probably a dead animal. Smells like a carcass.
Indeed.
And Irina's just like, what are you guys all smelling? And Ismark is gonna like head out kind of into the forest a little bit and kind of inspect what's going on. And he motions to the party and he says, initially he motions like this. He's like, oh, I found something. And then like, he's like, actually, wait, don't, no, like, this is really disgusting. And he says, don't, you don't want to see this.
Doug
does
really
anyone-
wants to see this.
Doug wants to see it.
Doug is
We're
gonna
gonna
go
do.
see this.
Yeah, okay. So anyone who decides that they are not going to heed Ismark's warning and go look anyways, who wants to go look at the gross thing that Ismark found? All of you? Okay.
We're all adults here.
So you come across a wolf corpse. And it is like mangled and it is riddled with spears and crossbow bolts. Yeah, really icky.
Can I loot it?
It smells horrible. What's that?
Get those
Can I
bolts.
loot its body? Is there anything to loot?
Its body has a bunch of icky fur,
Okay, I don't want that.
some
Mine.
bolts and a couple spears.
Can I take the bolts?
You can take the crossbow bolt
Are they covered in smelly blood? Like, would I be carrying smelly, gross bolts with me?
unless you wash them off. Yes.
Is there a river nearby where I could do that?
Not anymore. The gate's
Right.
closed.
Ramis,
They will
Ramis
stay
can
where they
take
are.
care of that for you if you'd like him to.
Say again?
Ramis has magic to help with that if you would like.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Then I'll take the bolts.
Okay, so you can take the bolts. They're pretty neat looking bolts. You can tell that the arrow tips look like they have been masterfully carved.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
pretty neat looking bolts. And you find 2 of them
Two.
that are able to be recovered. All right. And I assume we are going to continue moving on after encountering this disgusting wolf corpse. Yeah.
I guess Ramis will ask Ismark, he's like, why do you think this beast was felled? It doesn't look like it was attacking anything.
Ismark shakes his head and he says, I'm quite unfamiliar with these parts of the woods. I know that wolves live here, but I don't know who is hunting them.
Could I investigate the bolts and see if they're like made of a silver type of metal? And is there anything
yeah.
engraved on them?
The bolts are not silver. They are a normal, non-precious metal.
Okay.
But they do look like they were carved very well by someone who knew what they were doing.
Raven bolts.
They have raven feathers.
So you guys are traveling through the wooded area for about 5 hours or so, past the gate. And you finally come to a clearing out of the woods and the path continues on seemingly endlessly. The road just keeps going. And again, to your left, there's like a little hill as you approach out of the woods, and there's some grassy plains over to the right. You see more woods ahead, and you guys are going to continue on the path. I presume we want to stay on the path and not like venture out into the plains or into the woods. It's up to you guys. We want to go into explore some woods. Irina definitely encourages you to stay on the path. All right, so you guys are going to travel for about another 5 hours after that. So you come to that clearing after 5 hours, another 5 hours go by, and you it's starting to approach sundown again.
I have a question, Danny.
Yes.
Out of character and everything. Are we missing things by not going into these woods?
You're missing chances of death.
Okay. I just want to, like, we're not missing like I don't know, like an abandoned house or a
Yeah,
site,
no,
stuff like that.
you are not missing those types of things. No.
Okay.
You also will eventually come back this way, probably, because this is where Strahd's house is. So yeah, we might eventually be back here.
Okay.
Cool. So it's starting to approach sundown again. And as sundown approaches, and you guys are walking along the road, you all notice ahead, about like a few hundred feet in front of you, you notice the road diverge once more towards the left-hand side, to your left-hand side. So the road is kind of heading northwest-ish still, and the road juts out to the left into what looks like woods. So you guys can decide if you'd like to like continue on, even though it's getting really dark, and like check that out, or if you want to make camp here, check that out tomorrow, or if you want to like keep going for a little while. What do you guys want to do?
We should probably not trample through the woods at nighttime.
Yeah.
What
no
time
matter
is
how
it,
much
Danny?
time we have.
Probably like 7 again. Starting to get dark at 7.
And there's a road leading to the left.
Into what looks like woods.
Can we send the owl to go scout it real quick?
Yeah.
Make sure there's nothing incredibly deadly.
So as you send the owl out to go and inspect that road, the owl leaves, it flies away for a little while, and the owl eventually comes back, and I'm guessing as a familiar, it doesn't like directly communicate with you verbally.
No, it's just like your Pabu. I get to see. I can see directly through its eyes, though, so I can process whatever it sees.
Okay. Yes. So you see the road jet off, and the road does not go very far to the left, only maybe several hundred feet to the left, and the road leads to a winding. It leaves from a winding path in the mountains to this little lazy trail that hugs the mountainside as it descends into a very fog-filled valley. So that road sort of descends a little bit, and it's a valley filled with lots and lots of fog. And in the heart of the valley, if you fly into there, you see a little walled town near the shores of a great mountain lake. And the great mountain lake is quite still. And you see that a branch, basically there is a stone windmill hanging out in the middle of that valley. And the windmill has an onion domed edifice on top of it. And it sort of almost leans to one side, the leaning windmill. And you see the windmill has some gray brick walls, and there are many floors to the windmill. And there are windows outside. They are covered in lots of dirt. And there's a wooden platform that is kind of encircling the windmill outside that leads to like the second level and the third level outside. There's also a front door of the windmill, and perched above the door of the windmill, sitting right there in front of the door, is a raven. And you see the raven hop about, just jumps around, and it squawks at you, seemingly agitated.
I believe we've found our windmill.
And he says "our" because Kane knows he's holding the deed.
Yeah.
Roll an insight check.
Any of us?
No, just Kane.
Damn it.
Let's see, insight. 17.
You sense that the raven is trying to warn you.
Oh.
Away?
Mm-hmm. The raven is trying to send you a message to go away, to not be here.
I get the impression that this is a dangerous place.
And the raven, after issuing its message, flies off to the north.
Perhaps we visit our windmill at a later date.
Yeah, so that's what you see over there. You're still quite far-ish away from it. So do you guys want to head forward in the night? Do you want to make camp?
We should make camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's nighttime, we shouldn't push our luck.
All right. Camp again. And Ismark again offers to take a shift to keep watch first. Because he cray like that.
Mhm. I'll take second shift because I'm cray like that.
I'll take no shift.
All right, so you guys are gonna make camp for the second time. And you can head off the road just a little bit. There's no hills where you are really, not over here. So you're kind of just perched out in the middle of two wooded areas on far sides of you. And you guys can make some camp. And yeah, so Ismark will take first shift, and he will sit out and watch what goes on. And he sees nothing. Everything's fine.
What
So
does the owl see? Does the owl see anything?
nothing.
No. Not in a creepy way, but I think Ramis is going to be like paying attention to Irina's movements most nights we camp.
Mhm. She like falls asleep immediately.
Okay.
She pulls a Danny,
Okay.
passes out.
Alright.
She's tired as hell. Yeah. So on this night, Ismark comes in, wakes up Sindra as per usual, and Ismark says, I noticed a wandering creature in the dark. It was quite far away and it's quite foggy, so I couldn't make out what it was, but there was something that looked like it was wandering out near the woods. So just keep keep your eyes open.
Okay, thank you for the warning. Okay, and could you tell how large it was, or just that there was something out there?
He said it looked quite large.
Okay, all right, and he goes right to sleep.
He just heads into the tent and goes to bed. It's like, see ya, have fun. Yeah. So as Sindra hangs out in the night, Sindra also notices the same thing at a single point that Ismark was speaking of. You see a figure look like it's walking, like upright out far in the distance. It doesn't look like an animal. It looks like an upright creature. And you can't make out what it is. It does look quite large.
Okay.
But it doesn't seem to be posing any threat to you.
Would I be able to do a perception check on it? Would that give me any extra information?
At this point, it's really a silhouette. It's very, you don't have much more information than something out in the fog that looks like a creature.
Does Kane's
If
familiar?
you want to get closer to it, maybe within 30 feet of it, you could do that.
Kind of want to wake somebody up.
What's that?
I kind of want to wake someone up.
You can if you want to. Up to you.
Kane for his owl. Send the
Yeah.
owl in.
Does Kane's owl see it too and like wake him up through that, or like has it noticed it at all?
It does. The owl definitely. I mean, the owl, like familiar,
Mhm.
isn't. Yeah, the familiar like just sees things. I don't think that it's going to like report unless it thinks that there's like a threat, and it
Okay.
doesn't.
Okay. I think I'd wake up Kane. I'd
Okay.
kind of nudge him awake with my foot.
What, Sindra? What?
Well,
Why are you
beauty
waking
rest.
me?
I'm sorry to startle you. There's something out there. It's a silhouette. It looks like the shape of a humanoid. I think you should use your familiar and investigate it. It's
What
that
is-
way. Look.
What does Kane see?
Exactly what Sindra sees.
So no detail.
No, unless you get closer.
I send the owl a little closer, but I keep my range to at least 125 feet
Okay.
or 120 feet.
So the owl sees a figure walking alone with the stride and bearing of one who knows no fear. The figure, as you get closer, is clad in rusty armor, and it is clutching a gleaming longsword in its pale hand, and it looks ready for a fight.
Does it look bad?
From a distance, it looks like some kind of zombie.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Roll an insight check.
Insight check. 16.
Mhm. Okay. So when you're within like 30 feet of it, the owl, you can see the intelligence and hate in its sunken eyes.
I don't like this. I'm going to back the owl off, but I'm going to make him fly an arbitrary way back so that it doesn't go straight back to us.
Does like a little weird loop to loop.
Yeah, and it like goes back down through the trees or something so that it couldn't be followed.
Okay. So the owl will come back to you, and it does not approach. It doesn't even really notice the owl.
Okay.
It's just out there.
Sindra, you were right to wake me. There is something that appears quite unsettling.
What did you see?
Some kind of armored zombie skeleton. I couldn't very much tell, but it is full of hate.
Should probably avoid him then.
Probably for the best, yes.
All right, and as you guys have your conversation, it draws closer.
We should wake everybody up and tell them we need to ski-diddle.
Yeah. At this point, what time is it?
I don't know, you have a watch?
No, but like, does it look like dawn is gonna be nearby?
It's probably
What's the
like
light
4
level?
a.m. Probably like 4 a.m.
Okay.
or 5, yeah.
Ramis, wake up!
Gives him a little tap with the toe of his shoe.
I would wake up Irina too.
You're muted, buddy.
Oh, son of
What?
You're muted again.
All I said was what?
There's
I unmuted for the one word, yeah.
something that seems quite dangerous heading toward the camp. I suggest we leave and try to erase our tracks.
Something. What is it? Do we know what it wants?
I'll draw you a picture later. We need to move quickly.
Surely we could just treat with it, and I could go back to bed.
I'll tell you what, Ramis, if you would like to stay, you are more than welcome to.
And Kane
And
kicks Zug a little bit.
as you guys are conversing and having this conversation and potentially attempting to pack up camp, the creature draws nearer.
How
How
close?
close?
And it gets about 40 feet away from you guys.
All right, well,
And now
Okay.
it sees you and it walks directly towards you.
Okay.
You stop.
I assume you yell this at the creature.
Yes.
It like draws its shoulders up and it like holds its sword in its arm. And it just like stares you down.
But it stopped.
It stops and it looks at you. And it says nothing.
We seem to have accidentally interrupted your shamble. Please communicate with us if you can.
It asks, "Who are you in league with?"
Oh God, it speaks.
are we in league with anything?
We're in league with ourselves. We'll hear a little league.
You're in league with none other than Ismark the Lesser.
Ismark is like a little hurt that you said that.
The lesser.
Ismark, who is now awake at this point, like the rest of you, like looks over at Irina and he like whispers at her like something that you guys can't hear. And Irina yells back, and Irina says, "We are not in league with Strahd, if that's what you're asking." And the creature peers, and he says, "Are you enemies of Strahd?" And Irina,
Based on what we know of Strahd, we could safely call him an enemy, yes.
and the creature approaches closer, and as it approaches, you can see that it is not a zombie. This creature is a revenant, and it is wearing tattered chain armor, and it tells you, "I would like nothing more than to kill Strahd. But I do not have direct orders to travel to Castle Ravenloft, and I will not travel there until Vladimir gives me my direct orders."
Who is Vladimir?
The Revenant replies, and he says, "Vladimir Horngard, He's the leader of the Order of the Silver Dragon. They can be of
Ah.
great help to you. And I urge you to travel to find Argynvostholt. This is where you will find the Order of the Silver Dragon.
Arjun roast hole?
Where?
Yeah,
Argynvostholt. It's a hard name.
Can you type that out?
Yeah. Yes, it's very Slavic. Argynvostholt. Argynvostholt.
What was this? Did we get a name from this thing?
No.
And it said it hadn't gotten orders from
It says
Vladimir,
it
right?
doesn't have orders from Vladimir. And he tells you that a man named Vladimir Horngard is the leader of the Order of the Silver Dragon. And he says, travel to Argynvostholt if you wish to help in the demise of Strahd.
Are you a silver dragon? Or were you?
It looks at you and it says, I am not a dragon.
Oh, so he means literally dragons. Okay. Sorry.
That's his response to you. He
Some
interprets your question as you are asking him if he's a dragon, and he says, I am not a dragon.
Yes, that is apparent, friend. Excuse me, sometimes orders use names of fearsome creatures to bolster themselves.
He does not compute.
Okay.
Can we tell how smart this thing is?
You can
Or if
roll
this is-
an insight check.
Okay.
While he's doing that, I think Ramiz is going to keep talking. And who are you?
He says, I have no name, not anymore.
How's that insight going, Kane?
It's 20.
Ooh.
It's not a nat 20, it's just 20.
It's intelligent, but probably not that much more intelligent than Zug.
Gotcha. So it's more like does it appear to be magical in nature, like summoned or something?
No.
Okay.
But it does appear a little bit undead.
Mhm.
Can we ask him where Argynvostholt?
Argynvostholt.
Well, we know that the Order of the Silver Dragon are undead. We found that out from Ava. Ava? Yeah.
Yes, Madam Ava did mention something about Order of the Silver Dragon.
Nice.
Arjun as in, well, no, I'll let you figure it out on your own.
We would be interested in meeting Vladimir, but may we have your name?
He says, I have no name, not anymore.
Well, what was your name? What name before?
He says, I don't remember.
Do you remember anything?
He says, I remember what Strahd did to those who I am aligned with. To my friends.
Could I kind of investigate the armor that he has on and see if I can identify anything?
Yeah, you can roll investigation to look at the armor and see if you can notice anything.
Ooh, that's gonna be an 8.
It is tattered chainmail.
I think Ramiz is still clinging to his words, waiting for him to remember what happened to his friends.
He tells you The one you seek to speak to is Vladimir Horngard.
Can we ask him where this Argynvost Holt is?
Yes, he says, it is to the west, past the town of Valaki, and it is nestled atop a hill. You can find it easily by following the road.
Okay. Well,
Perhaps we shall pay them a visit. If you have any way to do so, would you let them know we are interested in visiting?
He says, I will lead you there.
Well, we can't say no to an escort now, can we?
He looks over at Ramis and Sindra and Zug.
He appears quite intimidating. I would
Quite
not.
capable, yes.
Well,
we can't do it now.
Ismark is like very distraught. And Ismark says, I would be happy to accompany you all there after we safely deliver Irina to Valaki.
yes.
One thing at a time.
Ismark, we will respect the order of operations and drop you off first.
The Revenant says, when you are ready, find Argynvost Holt, find Vladimir. And then he like walks off into the distance, back into the fog. And you see him like chase something out into the fog. And you hear like the cutting of his blade through the thickness of the fog. And you hear, "Ah!"
Oh, geez, he's killing something.
He literally just like murdered a wolf, like right now.
All right.
Right
one less
after he
wolf for us
finished
to worry
talking to
about.
you guys. Yeah.
Should
We
we
go back to sleep now?
go back to sleep?
Yeah.
Doug will roll over and go back to sleep.
You guys go back
We'll
to
stay
sleep for a
awake.
couple of hours.
Mm.
Back to sleep for a couple hours. All right, and you guys go back to sleep, and the dawn approaches once more, and you are all awoken by the creepy ass sun through the creepy ass mist once again. Okay, so you guys get up, you pack up your shit. The Revenant is gone as far as you can tell. And you guys can make your way forward once again. Ismark approaches Kane as you guys walk along, and he says, you said that path, and he points towards the left as you guys are starting to approach, leads to a windmill?
Yes, it does.
And Ismark says, I have heard stories of an old family, an old Barovian family with a long lineage that owned a windmill. And I don't know of any other windmills in Barovia.
We happen to have the deed to a windmill.
And Ismark says, it's you? You're the old family?
Oh,
Well,
I thought you weren't from here.
we are definitely not the old family, though we did pay a visit to an old family's home.
He says, oh, so the rumors are true then.
What, that this old family had a rather nasty house?
He says, well, it is rumored that this prestigious family were part of a larger cult that worships Strahd.
Well, I can concur that there was certainly a cult that lived there, yes, or at least operated from the basement. It was much like a dungeon.
He says, I wonder if it might be worth investigation at some point. I dare think we not venture there now.
No, I concur.
Okay, and you guys are just gonna breeze right by the creepy path that leads to a creepy windmill, and continue on. And as you continue forth, you guys spend pretty much a whole other day traveling. Yep, it takes you pretty much all day, and you are walking on the path. The path hugs the woods on one side. On the left side of the path, it hugs the woods. On the right side, it is open to some plains. And you guys walk through the path. And as you continue to walk on the path, you walk about 5 to 6 hours and notice on your right a clearing through the woods, which so as you walk, the left side of the path hugs the woods. And then as you continue on, the right side also becomes woods. So now you're kind of traveling through the woods again. And towards the right, there breaks in the woods a clearing. And you see a lake, the base of a lake. And this lake, excuse me, is quite large. It's pretty humongous. And it's quite beautiful. It's very striking. So if any of you want to like travel through the clearing, it's probably about maybe 100 feet also to get to the clearing, to kind of where the base of the lake is, covered by woods on both sides. And in the daylight, you can see through the fog, see through the clearing towards the lake. The lake is at the base of, on the other side of the lake, on the opposite side of where you guys are, there is a pretty humongous mountain, big mountains behind the lake, full of lots of woods. And you guys see this pretty lake. It is clear, just like the river that you had encountered down south. The lake is quite clear, quite pretty. And as you guys approach the lake, you can see that it sort of channels on the other side into little small channels here and there. So it's like this big lake that has like little outlets that sort of go in a lot of different areas. So it's not just a lake, it is a lake that leads to little streams, little rivers. Yeah, anyone want to explore the lake, or do you guys want to just like head down the path? There is a signpost on the street that points down the road to Valaki. And you can sense that the roads here seem a little bit more traveled, a little bit more worn, so you might be getting close.
Do we have any interest in checking out that lake? Do we want to take a bath?
As Mark like runs up to the lake and he puts his hands in and like washes off his face, and Irina like washes off her sword. And Ismark says, I remember that Valaki is at the base of a lake. So I believe that Valaki is quite close and just a little bit further at the base of this lake if we continue on.
Ramiz is just going to start taking all of his clothes off at the shore of the lake. Say, Ismark, how many people live in Valaki? And then he's going to like do some kind of a fancy dive into the lake.
Naked?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He like comes up and spits some water out of his mouth.
Has anyone in the party noticed whether or not Rames's dick is also golden, or is it like just his eyes? Like, what's going on with that? No, I don't know.
While he was getting undressed, I would have rolled my eyes and turned away.
In these days, it's not so weird to get naked and bathed, I don't think. You're a bunch of squares.
Yeah. Okay. As Mark says, probably similar to the number of people that live in Barovia, but I don't know.
When will we find a packed tavern?
Ismark says, I have heard tales that Valaki is much more vibrant than Barovia, though I can't imagine a place more drow than Barovia.
That is good enough. I can't wait.
Upgrade. Okay, so you guys take a break, dip in the water. It's starting to get dark again. And yep, and Ismark urges you, and he says, I think we can make it to the town in time for the evening if we hustle.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do it.
I think we should hustle.
All right, you guys hustle your butts towards on the road, and the old Svalak road meanders into a valley, and it is watched over by dark, brooding mountains, both to the north and to the south. So the mountains past the lake and mountains way far on the other side of the plains. The woods begin to recede, revealing a sullen mountain berg surrounded by a wooden palisade. There is thick fog pressing up against the wall as though looking for a way inside, hoping to catch the town aslumber. The dirt road actually ends at a set of sturdy iron gates, much like the ones behind me, with a pair of shadowy figures standing behind them, planted in the ground and flanking the road outside. The gates are a half dozen pikes. There are a half dozen pikes with wolves' heads impaled on them outside of the gate.
People don't like wolves.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
I don't. So, you guys approach, and yeah. So, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to attempt to get into these gates?
Hermes is gonna look very expectantly at Bismarck and Irina.
Ismark approaches the gate, and there are you can see that there are heavy iron chains and padlocks that are kind of cast to the side. And as you guys approach the gate, 2 town guards emerge from the gate, and they are carrying pikes. They're carrying huge pikes, and they start to sort of look like they're locking up the gates for the evening. And Ismark runs up to the guards, and Ismark says, "Excuse me, please. We need to enter the town." And the guards the guards are very suspicious of Ismark and the rest of you. And the guards say, "Sorry, we're locking up for the evening."
Okay, Ramis is gonna run to intervene and say, "But we are but weary travelers. We have spent days coming here for safety. You would not keep such a beautiful person out in the danger, would you? And I like kind of gesture to Irina.
He's not talking about himself. Ramis, roll a persuasion check.
It's a 19.
The guards say, "We will not accept nighttime visitors."
Ah!
Oh,
Wow.
shit.
They expect us to camp outside their gate.
We can just do like the gypsies did it in the very beginning of this campaign. We'll just have a
And-
revelless
Just fucking
After-
party outside the gate.
After Ramis's attempt, Irina walks up to the guard and she says, "Please," she says, "this is my only salvation from the devil's Strahd." And upon hearing the words, "the devil's Strahd," the guards peer over and like examine Irina. And Irina rolled a 19, a nat 19. And you guys got lucky. And the guards say, "Where did you say that you're traveling from?" And Irina says, "We come from Barovia." And the guards like peer at her to try to sense what she's about. And they look over at the rest of you and they see this like grizzled old man. They see like this creepy looking like death lady. They see a giant half orc and they see like this fucking pupilless golden ray of light. And they're like, "Okay, you may come inside, but you should speak to the burgomaster in the morning."
This town has a burgermaster too.
They let you in. And they let you in to the gates and they lock up the gates behind you with heavy iron chains and padlocks. And as you guys come into the town, you see quite a few things. You pass through, there's a main road that runs through the town. That's actually the old Slavic road. It just runs straight through the town. And then there's some winding roads throughout. But the old Slavic road runs straight through the town. And if you guys follow along that road, one of the guards, as you walk by, says, "I recommend checking out the tavern. You might be able to post up for the night there." And yeah, so and the guard points down like the main road. So I assume maybe you guys want to head that way. Do you want to check something else out? Do you want to explore some of the, it's getting dark. It's pretty dark actually.
Tavern
at this
sounds
point.
pretty good right now.
Tavern's not
Tavern.
bad. Yeah. No.
Tavern.
So you guys walk down the main road and you see a building with gray smoke coming out the chimney, and it's quite a large building, 2-story wooden building. It's got a stone foundation, and there are several ravens perched on top of the sagging tile roof of this building. And there's a painted wooden sign hanging above the main entrance that depicts a blue waterfall. And the name on the building is Blue Water Inn. Mm-hmm. And if you guys head inside the Blue Water Inn, which I'm assuming maybe we want to do. Yes, maybe.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So you guys head into the Blue Water Inn, and as you come inside, you see that you open the doors to a huge tap room. There are damp cloaks hanging from pegs in the entrance portico. The tavern is packed with tables and chairs. There are little narrow paths meandering between them, and there's a bar that stretches along one wall under a balcony that can be reached by a wooden staircase that hugs the north wall of the tavern. There's another balcony that overhangs an entrance that is on the east side as well. The windows are fixed with quite thick shutters and crossbars, which makes you feel pretty good. There's some lanterns that are hanging above the bar and resting on the tables, and they are bathing the room in a dull orange light and casting shadows on the walls. Most of the walls, which are adorned with wolf heads mounted on wooden plaques.
More wolves.
And tucked into some alcoves behind the bar, there are some big wine barrels that Zug immediately sees. And there is a female human bartender, and she's hanging out. There are a few people that are hanging out in the bar. You noticed a couple of guys, and I will actually take a perception check from the party.
Perception.
16.
Ooh, 19.
18.
15 and above. Notice there are a couple of guys in the tavern who are dressed in hunter's clothing, like they've got thick, like pelty woolen jackets. They have a big bow slung across their front quiver on their back. And you notice in the quiver that the arrows in one of their quivers looks very similar to what Sindra picked up off that dead wolf. Yes. So you notice two guys who are hanging out at a table. There is another man hanging out in the tavern, and he is colorfully dressed. And upon inspection, he looks elf-like, elf-ish. You can't tell if he's an elf, maybe a half elf, maybe not an elf, and just kind of looks like one. But he has elf-ish appearances. And Ramis immediately identifies this person who's colorfully dressed as a bard. Yep. and sees him, and he's just hanging out at the bar, having a little drink of wine. And that's actually all the people that are in here right now. They're actually tonight there might be a couple of villagers hanging out in the bar in the tap room as well, but not more than like 5 or 6 people. It's pretty quiet tonight.
Ramis advances towards the bar and shouts to Ismark and Irina and Zug, "What are you having?" As he approaches the bar wench with a great smile.
The man turns and looks at you and smiles.
The bard?
And the bard, yeah. And he smiles at you. And he says, "I'm having the purple grape mash. It's not the greatest wine one has ever set to their lips, but it gets the job done." And he says, "Hail, travelers, come." And he invites you over and offers to buy you all some purple grape mash. And
What kind of a bard? Like what tell do his garb and his instruments that he has with him?
Yes, so he's quite colorfully dressed, which kind of gives you like a little bit of an inkling. And he has sort of the kind of the spirit, and he just seems like very flamboyant. So you recognize him as a bard, but none of the other characters would initially, unless like he presented himself as that. But you can kind of tell by his demeanor that this man is like for sure a bard. He also isn't carrying. He's carrying one instrument. He has like a really small lute, but he's not carrying any other instruments as far as you can see. So you see him holding like a small lute, or like the lute is on his person.
Yeah.
But he's not carrying like multiple instruments. He just, yeah, he's carrying.
Well, Ramis will graciously accept the purple drink.
Purple grape mash number 3.
And offers up his goblet and says, "Cheers, my friend."
Cheers. And as you guys kind of gather to sit down, the bar maid walks over to your group and she says, you looking to post up for the evening? We have a couple of open rooms.
Who is she speaking to?
Just the whole party. She probably would speak to Kane because he's the old person.
Tired.
Respect your takes.
I'm more feisty than I appear.
That's true. She doesn't know that. You just look like old and weird to her.
Yes, I'm sure eventually we will settle for the night, but for now we drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the bard offers you all, he orders a pint of the purple grape mash and says, cheers. I'd love to hear where you all have been. It's not often that I see interesting adventurers such as yourselves come into these parts. And he's clearly taking a great interest in you and expresses that he wants to know more. And he will learn more next time on Curse of Strahd.
Next time.